Hello friends, welcome to LeggLife, and you guys, all of our cruise vlogs are out.
Yep.
The entire Princess Alaska cruise series out. Thank you so much for your response to it so far. It's been overwhelming and amazing. But today, we decided that we should do a kind of a wrap-up video.
Yes.
A little bit of a Princess Cruise Alaska review where we tell you our pros, cons, what we loved, maybe what we didn't love so much. So that's exactly what we're doing in today's video.
We know a lot of you have found us through our Disney cruise content. This video is not going to be like a direct comparison, Disney versus Princess. There will be some comparisons just because Disney is the only other frame of reference really for us.
Yeah.
But this really won't be like a this or that.
We'll do that eventually. We'll do a Disney or Princess kind of video or podcast, but that's not what this is, as Sherri said.
Yeah.
For those of you guys who might be new to our channel, and a lot of you are, because we saw a lot of new people during this series, welcome. We have been on 7 Disney cruises. We have 2 more that are booked. Yep. This is our first non-Disney cruise and our first time cruising Alaska, which is where we live. We are Alaskans. We live here in Anchorage. And so we want to talk about our cruise. And we've kind of divided it up into a number of areas. Things like the ship, the food, entertainment, all of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And we are going to be completely honest in this. This is our review. We paid for this cruise. This was not given to us or anything like that. So we're going to tell you what we loved. We're going to tell you what we didn't.
Yes.
Sound good?
Yep.
Let's start with, and just so you know, this is probably going to be a long video because we want to be as detailed as possible.
Yes.
So let's start with the ship.
So we were on the Royal Princess.
Yep.
Which is a bigger ship.
And newer.
And newer. I really liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was beautiful. I thought that the finishings were stunning throughout the ship.
The ship exceeded every one of my expectations.
Yes.
I will say that. I didn't expect it to be trashy. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't expect garbage. I mean, Princess is a known, reputable brand, but I didn't expect it to be that nice. Primarily the piazza, which is their, like, lobby atrium.
Yep.
It was stunning.
Every single time I saw this, which was multiple times a day,
yeah,
I was always just like, I want all of the pictures. Like, I can't even tell you how many pictures of this one place in the, like, on the ship I got, because it was always so beautiful, and I just couldn't, like, pictures don't do it justice.
Yeah, and it was that way around the ship. One of the things, so let's talk about some of the things we liked about the ship.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really liked were that every one of their different spaces, whether it was entertainment venues or bars or restaurants, all of them were very unique and very nice.
Yes.
Like, I'm trying to think if there's an area, there are things around the ship that were not up to the quality I thought they would be. We'll touch on that here in a minute. But as far as, like, whole areas, there was nothing that...
No, and I really, one of the things I noticed and appreciated was each space, like, even just, like, there were a few tables and chairs here, and then you'd move kind of into, like, a new section, and it was different tables and chairs, and I feel like that kind of, like, separated them, like, kept them, and it almost made it easier to navigate the ship, because I would, like, especially kind of throughout the week, I would recognize, oh, these chairs, and so now I know I'm near the Princess Live Theater, or, like, you know, I just, like, I kind of knew where I was based on the decorations and the tables and chairs. Yeah,
that was super nice.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of that way around the ship.
Yep.
The Princess Theater, which is their big main theater, was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was great. Their bars were really, really nice.
Yes. And
varied, like a huge range of types of bars.
Yeah.
I felt like you could find a space that you loved on this. No matter who you were, you could have found a space that you loved on the Royal Princess.
Yes. I agree.
Which was awesome, because you did that. You found a space to sit and draw and just have, like, quiet time.
Yep.
I found spaces to go explore and enjoy and not have quiet time.
Right.
And we got to experience both those.
Yep.
I do want to talk about a couple of things, or really one primary thing that was on the ship that fell into my cons list. So they have the giant outdoor movie screen, right? Beautiful, amazing. I sat out there, I watched Dune, I watched part of Princess Bride. Every time you were walking through, they had stuff up there. But the screen itself was pretty terrible quality.
Yes, like it was very pixelated, and there were like whole squares that were just out.
Yeah, and that's...
so you just had like these big black kind of marks.
That was one of those things that I was like, that's something Disney would never allow.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I was like, that was one of the places that I was like, I'm seeing a little bit of the difference. And so that was one of the things I noticed. Oh, that is not up to the quality I wish it was. But what's crazy is that other than that, as far as the ship goes, I don't think there was anything else.
No, the first night we went to dinner and there was like a hole in the tablecloth.
Okay.
But, you know, again, like, it's a hole in the tablecloth. Like, it didn't affect the dinner. It didn't affect the food. Like, my plate sat over it, so it wasn't really, like...
But it's little things like that.
But it's just little things. I mean, it wasn't a huge hole, but it was a hole. And I was just like, oh, well, all right.
Yep. And
there's a hole in the tablecloth.
So, like, if you paid attention, little things like that would step out at you.
Tiny details, yeah.
But I will say, I'm just going to throw it out there, this ship, the most beautiful ship I've ever sailed on.
I would agree with that.
In fact, we were talking about how to... And again, we're not going to do this all video, Disney versus Princess. Disney ships, at least our favorite ships are the older Disney ships, right? The Wonder's our favorite ship. The Dream and Fantasy are great.
And honestly, mostly because of the size. Like, I feel like everything is just accessible.
I love the smaller ships. Disney ships are classic. You know what I mean? Like, they have that almost like return to the golden age of cruising. That's what I love about them. They feel very classic. But one of the things that you said, and you said this so good, you said that if Disney is classic, Princess is classy.
Classy. It was beautiful. All of it.
Yeah, really was. And I think that sums it up really well. So the ship for me, like an A. I'm not going to go A+, because there are a couple things that could be fixed, but like an A for sure.
Solid A.
Solid A.
Yep.
Now let's talk food. A big part of any cruise. You go on a cruise, it's vacation. Like, eat what you want.
I want all of the good foods.
It's vacation.
Yep.
Do it. And so we did it.
We did.
I'm going to be very honest, because we had heard before this cruise, we had people, and just, we had people on both sides in all of this stuff. We had people tell us, cancel your cruise. Princess is the worst. You're going to hate it. We also had people who said,
you're never going to want to go on another Disney cruise.
You're never going to want to go on another Disney cruise. Princess is great. Both of those are wrong.
Correct.
Both of those, for us, both of those were wrong.
Right.
One of the things we had heard was how great the food was on Princess.
But we'd also heard how not great the food was.
But we'd also heard how not great food was. To me, the food was a C+.
Right.
Is that fair?
Yes, and I feel like we had a few A meals.
Totally.
But overall, the food was okay.
Yeah, the food was fine. It was okay. There are very few things that stood out to me. In fact, if I went back on another Princess cruise, which we'll talk about that in this video if we would ever cruise Princess again. Spoiler alert, we would. This is why I'm terrible at keeping secrets.
What?
Shocking. If I went on another Princess cruise, there are very few things I'd be like, oh, you know what? I've got to get this. Some of those things for me, so we paid to go to the Crown Grill, which is like their steakhouse.
Yep.
I would 100% do that again.
Absolutely. But we also paid to go to Sabatini's, and I would not pay for that.
Without a doubt, I would not go. I did not
Everything we had there was just okay. There was nothing at Sabatini's that I thought was like, oh, yep, this is absolutely worth the upcharge.
I didn't think Sabatini's was any better than their normal dining restaurants.
Nope.
And so I would not pay for Sabatini's. I would pay for Crown Grill.
Yes.
There were some things that I really liked. I thought their buffet was great.
Their buffet was great. One of the things on like the Princess Favorites menu, so it was on like every menu, every night, was the French onion soup.
We all got it a bunch.
Some of the best French onion soup I have ever had.
Yeah, it was really good.
It was amazing.
I thought that I loved having a buffet option for dinner.
Yes.
That was really, really nice, because some nights it's like, you know what, I just want to go and get a dinner.
I don't know what I feel like. I don't want to stare at a menu. I just want to get something and...
I just want to get something to get on with my day. I want to get something to go to a show. I want to get something to go to a trivia. I want to get something, you know what I mean? And being able to have a buffet option that you could go, grab food real quick, good to go. What was is it Alfredo's was the pizza restaurant in the lobby?
Yeah.
We had that the very first day.
Yep.
Didn't show it in the vlog. It was really good.
It was really good. I think we talked about it in the vlog that we were there, and then we just forgot to vlog the rest of the meal. The meal was great.
Yep. Their Prego Pizza, which is their pizza station on the pool deck, also great.
Yes.
Way better than Pinocchio's pizza. Night and day. Right. I see why they say it's the best pizza at sea, because from what we've experienced, for sure it was.
Yep. It was good.
Some other things with dining, though, that were a little confusing. So the first night was confusing for us.
Yeah, and some of it might have been, we just might have missed something.
Totally.
But there was a restaurant, the Symphony, I think, restaurant on board that was never actually open the whole cruise. And I think that had more to do with the numbers of people on board. They just didn't have the need to open every restaurant. But there was no actual indication that it was closed until you got right in front of the door.
So we went to the Symphony Restaurant because we didn't have a set dining time. We did the dine anytime because we just wanted to be like, you know what? Tonight we're having dinner at 6:30. Tonight we're having dinner at 8:30. That was really nice.
Right. And so we were actually on the app and we were like, oh, let's go to the Symphony. And so we got, it took us a while to figure out where it was, for one thing. And then we got there and it was closed. And we were like, is it just closed tonight? It was very confusing.
Yep.
Even when you got there, it wasn't clear that was just not going to be open.
And it wasn't just us. There were other people showing up at the dining room, wondering where to go.
Right.
So that was confusing to know, wait, where do I go, when?
Right.
Now, the nice thing is that the next time we cruise with Princess, I figure that won't be an issue.
Now we know.
Because now we know what to look for.
Yes, and how that actually works.
Totally. So with Disney, you have the same dining time and the same servers that follow you.
Yep, it's rotational dining.
I will say, this is weird because I really missed having the same servers.
Yeah.
Because I love that bond you make with your servers, but I did not miss having to go to dinner to set time every night.
At this restaurant, this is where you're going, this is it.
I did not miss that.
No, I actually really liked the freedom of, and I mean, around the ship, it didn't matter which restaurant you went to, everybody had the same menu.
Yep.
And so it was
with the exception of the buffets, that kind of thing.
Right,
yeah.
and the specialty dining.
Yep.
But any of the just main dining rooms just had all the same menus, so it didn't matter where you went.
Yep.
Which I thought was really helpful.
Yeah, totally.
And nice. It didn't matter where you went, but it was nice, I thought, to just be like, what time do we want to do dinner tonight? How are we feeling? And kind of, somewhere around the 2-3 p.m. we were just like, do we want to eat in 2 hours? Do we want to eat in 4 hours? How are we feeling?
Or if it's wait a second, tonight's ramen night in the buffet, we're going to the buffet. Right. And so it gave us more flexibility, which I actually really liked.
I did too.
But I did miss, because there was no connection with your servers, because you'd see them once and that'd be the last time you'd see them.
Right.
So I did miss that. I want to talk about food in the 24-hour cafe, the International Cafe, and then room service. So the International Cafe is the coffee shop. It's 24 hours. We showed it in a number of our vlogs. They had just some food cases out where you could get sandwiches or little snacks, that kind of stuff.
Desserts and whatever.
Yep. Everything I had there was great. It's exactly what you would expect it to be.
Yep. They had pastries. They did have gluten-free pastries. They had, it was obviously a full coffee bar, which was great.
They had sandwiches, they had wraps, they had all that stuff, which there was one night that I went down there and edited vlogs kind of late into the night, and it was so nice being able to just go get coffees until 2 a.m. or whatever it was, and food.
Yeah.
And it had a space on the ship that was late. I loved that.
Yeah.
Room service. Okay, so the room service menu for Princess is great. I thought it was really good.
Fantastic.
A lot of different stuff. You also can order, and this is so cool. So on the Medallion, you can order food to your room. They will also bring you food wherever you are. But it's not just to the specific room service menu. You can actually order things for an additional cost off of the specialty dining.
Right, so you could order things from the Crown Grill.
Or Sabatini's. Yep.
And have it delivered to you.
You could also order like sushi from the sushi restaurant.
Right.
And I just loved that the room service menu was included, no extra charge. But if you did want other room service options, those were available too.
Right, and alcohol. You could order drinks. You could order specialty coffees, which I loved. Like, I could just have my Americano delivered to my room first thing in the morning, and it wasn't just the drip coffee.
Yeah, so there were a lot of things food-wise on Princess that were really, really good, that really stood out.
Yes.
But overall, the food, I would say, when I say a C+, I would say that the options of food, some of it were very good. But there were very few things that stood out to me.
Right, yeah, very few bites that we like. That's what we like to talk about. What was your best bite?
Yeah.
And very few of those that I'm just like, ooh, I'm going to be dreaming about that.
Next time I go on the Royal Princess, I've got to get this.
The French onion soup.
French onion soup?
Right.
Yeah. Let's talk next about entertainment.
Yep.
There were two areas that we were told we would be the most disappointed in.
Right.
Service and entertainment.
Right.
Those were the two that we were told by most people that, well, because we've cruised with Disney so much, we are going to be super let down by the service and the entertainment, because those are things that Disney does amazing.
And those people were incorrect.
Well, here's what I will say. The entertainment on Princess was much better than I expected.
Yes.
With a couple exceptions. So the entertainment around the ship, like the bands they had playing, the piano players, which was everywhere.
Everywhere.
Phenomenal.
Absolutely fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Holy
the
cow.
bands that they had in the piazza, like the atrium, were amazing.
Like
the piano players and
like in Crooner's Lounge,
were amazing.
Like very, very surprised.
Yes.
We went to a few of the main stage things. We went to the Comedian the first night.
Yes.
Then they had the guy who did the Elton John cover show. Mm-hmm. And then they had like three, I think, like kind of
song and dance kind of
like song and dance things. Mm-hmm. I showed you, or I took you to one of them, which was called Encore.
Which is the one I really wish I had gone to. My body said no more.
Yeah, we were kind of done.
I had to go to bed.
We didn't go to the other ones. Not because the first ones were so bad. Right. Here's what I'll say. The Comedian, not our thing. Did not enjoy that at all. Left early. Not one of us out of the four enjoyed that.
Yeah.
The Elton John show was exactly what I expected it to be.
Yes.
It was fun. We got to sing along.
He was great.
He was a performer. He was great.
Entertaining.
It's exactly the cruise ship expectation of an Elton John cover tribute.
Yep.
Right? Like, it's exactly what I expected it to be.
It was great.
But it was good.
Right.
Now I want to talk about Encore, the show that you missed. The voices of the singers were better than any voices I've heard on a Disney ship. They were so good. Now, it's very different. Disney's performance, Disney's production is way better. Of course it is. They're Disney.
Because it's like a story.
Yeah, it's like, they're like Broadway plays. Mm-hmm. In the vlog, what I said is that Encore to me felt more like when we went and saw Celtic Women, right? It is big, beautiful dresses, big voices singing beautiful songs. There's not really a storyline. It's just like, these two come out and sing, these two come out and sing, these three come out and sing. Mm-hmm. But it was beautiful.
Yeah.
They brought a guest soprano on the ship called, her name was Elena Moon. And Justin Lacey and I all were blown away by her. Sorry, Sherri.
We did look on the TV and they did not have it.
They didn't have it. They weren't replaying it.
Yeah.
So I will say that the production on the Disney shows, certainly better. Right? It's certainly better. Princess was way better than I expected.
Yeah.
At least in the shows we saw, with the exception of the Comedian. There's so many good comedians out there. Like, why to put one of those?
It just wasn't great.
No, it wasn't great at all.
Oh, no.
My phone just died. Okay, now that my phone is plugged in and not wiggling the camera around.
Correct.
Let's move on to the next area, which is service.
Service.
This was the other area that people were like, you know what? Disney does it so much better. You're going to really notice a difference here. Did we?
No, I thought it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Every point of contact that we had with the staff was great.
They were very kind. Service was very quick. They were
Yep.
always willing to help. I just thought it was as good as we've ever had. A couple things that I did miss, though, when it comes to service. So the International Cafe is their coffee shop. But it's more like a walk up and get your coffee, and then you go get a table somewhere in the piazza, right?
Right.
So on a lot of the Disney ships, the Cove Cafe, I get to know the barista, right? You're sitting in there, you sit at the coffee bar, you're talking to them. It's like a private cafe. That's not what this is. So I missed that, but the service was as good.
Yes. Yep.
I was really surprised actually by that.
I was too, especially because we did hear from a lot of people like, oh, you're going to notice a really big difference. And I didn't. And everybody was great. Everybody was great.
Everybody was great. Do you have like stateroom attendant? Because we've stayed lots of different cruises.
Yep.
Like the cleanliness of our stateroom host, how was that compared to what we've known in the past?
Our stateroom host was Jonathan.
Yep.
And he was super friendly.
From the Philippines.
Yep. And I thought he did a great job with our room. And in fact, there was one time when he was just about to go into our room, and I literally had to I had to run and grab a sweatshirt, and I was just like, I'm sorry, can I just run in? And he was like, absolutely. And he just he left the room and let me run in. And I was in there for 2 seconds, I grabbed my sweatshirt and I left. But he was so gracious about it, and it was just, I don't know, every interaction we had with him was great. He gave us a little keychain at the end of the cruise so we could remember him. Just the cutest. And so I thought he was fantastic, and I thought that he did a really great job with our room.
Yep.
I never saw anything that was I wish that was a little cleaner.
No.
But never.
I had one request that I needed the guest services with. I needed to switch our disembarkation time because we needed to be off the ship a little bit earlier than when they had signed us. So I called down. I was like, hey, we're wondering, is there any way we could move this up to one of the other groups? And they're like, absolutely, we'll get you new luggage tags. We'll get, they took care of everything in seconds.
And they did, yeah.
And they did, it was done.
Yep.
It was so great.
We can send those tags up, and he was like, I can just run down and get them.
I'll just come down to get them.
And they were like, really?
You're like, are you sure? I was like, yeah. I was like, I'll come right down. Because you guys know me, I'm always looking for a reason to go do something. And so I was like, please, let me come down there.
Right. We did have a few special requests when we got to our room. The first day, I needed a sharps container for my injection, and what else did we want? Oh, extra pillows.
Extra pillows.
Something. And he was on it. He brought us the extra pillows, he brought us the sharps container, and just left it on our bed. And it was great.
Even the blankets that we wanted for all of us to sit out on the balcony.
Right.
He was like, absolutely, I'll get this for you. He brought us all the blankets.
I know, it definitely created more work for him because every day he would refold them and roll them and put them in a little pile. But it was
But he did it.
But he did it, and we had them available for us the whole cruise to be able to sit out on our balcony with blankets.
So we started talking, we've touched into our stateroom a little bit, so let's kind of hang out there. Obviously stateroom's kind of a big deal when you cruise because it's where you spend a lot of time.
Right.
What did you think of our stateroom? You already talked about the cleanliness, no cleanliness issues. I totally agree.
Nope.
Again, we had a forward-facing balcony room that Princess upgraded us to. We had booked an inside room originally. Thoughts on the stateroom? Was it super small? Big difference from what we're used to?
No, I felt size-wise, and it might just be because it was the deluxe. Size-wise, it felt about the same.
Yeah, I thought so too.
The bed, I thought, was actually more comfortable.
Okay, let's talk about this bed.
People, I feel lose their minds over the Disney beds, which are extremely comfortable.
Great.
However, before we even got off the cruise, we were online can we buy this whole bed package?
Well, it was hilarious because we actually, and the Zachmans, have been messaging just okay, here's where you get their pillows. Because and you can actually, Princess has a website where you can buy their mattress, their bedding, all that stuff.
Yep.
It was so good.
It was so comfortable. We both slept so good.
Every night. And that doesn't happen.
Every night. Actually, with the exception of the first night, actually, because we hadn't figured out the lights.
Oh, that's right.
Yet. And
that's right.
So there were automatic lights at the bottom of each bedside table and right outside the bathroom, which super helpful unless you're a crazy light sleeper. in which case you wake up every time those come on, and they were super sensitive, and so literally even just like my blanket moving would turn on this light.
And that wakes you up.
And so I figured out after that first night to put a pillow in front of the table, and it stopped that from turning on. But I mean, other than that, like the bed itself, the pillows were great. Like,
okay, so one of the concerns we had with a balcony room or any kind of outside facing room is that you are very sensitive to light.
Yes.
How was that?
Again, after the first night, I ended up taking some of those blankets and putting them along the bottom of the curtain because it did let in quite a bit of light.
Yep.
And I mean, it wasn't bad, and I still had to use my eye mask on a couple of the nights. But really not any worse than like our bedroom. Like it's just, I mean, there's just light that's gonna come in because it's Alaska and it doesn't get dark, and light is just gonna be there.
Yeah. Just so you know, it didn't bother me at all.
Great.
I slept great. Light, not even an issue for me one bit. Yeah, I know you guys were concerned about that.
No, we all were. We all really were. But really, with my eye mask, it was fine.
Okay, so other stateroom stuff. I loved having the big balcony, especially because we were cruising with friends. All four of us could sit out there
comfortably.
Yep. Is this a stateroom you would book on a future cruise? What are your thoughts about that?
I don't know that I would. I would, I think, if we cruised Alaska again, I would probably want a balcony. I don't know if I would want the forward facing. I liked the size of it because there were 4 of us that were consistently out there. But I didn't really like, especially because it was a big ship, I felt like there was no just like run back to the room real quick. Like it was a 10-minute trek no matter where you were on the ship. Like it was a trek to get back to the room and like back to wherever you were.
Okay,
and so it wasn't just like I forgot this, I need to run back. Like it was just make sure you have all of your stuff before you leave because you're not going to want to come back to the room. Like it was because it was at the very, very front of the ship.
It's so funny because I actually didn't even consider that until after we'd gotten off the ship and Sherri was mentioning that. And I was like, oh yeah, it was a long ways from stuff.
It was a long walk.
And so
for a lot for me.
So for you it was more the location of the room than the room itself.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
That's what it was. It
absolutely.
wasn't okay. And
the room itself was great, and I liked this space of the balcony, and if they could have that size balcony on the side of the ship in the middle, it would be great.
Yeah, so for you it's just simply convenience.
Yes, and I felt like a lot of the things that we wanted to do on the ship were at the very back of the ship, so we were literally walking front to back multiple times. Which
isn't bad because got off the ship, lost weight.
Oh. Sure.
Thanks. So see, that's a pro tip. Pro tip is enjoy the buffet. Just make sure you're staying at the very front of the ship.
So you
have to walk the whole time. Oh my gosh.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So I agree with you. Stateroom, spectacular.
Yes.
I really, really liked it.
Yes.
And we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that, because there are little nuances when we do our pros cons list that will come out in these areas. The next thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about the app. So Princess is very app driven, very medallion driven. A lot of it is reliant on this. And that's great when the app works. That's not so great when it doesn't work.
And I felt like that there were pieces of the app that were fantastic.
Yeah.
And then there were pieces of the app that like they just forgot to finish coding.
That's kind of how it feels.
It just like it was started and then they just stopped. And so
a good example of that is there's a messaging thing in the app.
Yes.
Which is awesome. Like, it's like, okay, perfect. We can message the Zachmans. We can message each other. This can be great. And it's really cool because with the medallion, you can actually see where the people in your party are on the ship.
Right.
So it's like, oh, cool.
Like you can locate your people.
Yep. So Sherri and Lacey in the library, I'm going to go hang out with them. You know, that kind of thing. It was awesome. But with the messaging, when you'd message people in your party, there was no notification that you had a new message.
No, and you had to completely go into the message to see that they had messaged you.
That's very strange.
It was super weird, and so we ended up just not using it at all because we're like, I'm not, and there wasn't, that we figured out, there wasn't any way to do like a group text, and so there were individual messages, But again, you had to go completely into that, which was like a 4-step kind of process.
It was odd. It was very odd.
It was very clunky and very weird, and no notifications. And so we were like, okay, we're just not using that. We will just text.
Yeah. Again, we really loved being able to order food, order drinks wherever you were on the ship.
Yep.
You could even order things like extra pillows, extra hangers. You could order things from the gift shop.
You could order like merchandise from the gift shop, and they would deliver it no matter where you were on the ship.
That's so cool.
That was fantastic.
It was really weird because the app actually feels pretty advanced, especially given who Princess's demographic is.
Yeah.
It is an older cruise line as far as the people who cruise. And we noticed that. We were among the younger people on the cruise.
Yeah.
Yet a lot of their app feels like you better know what you're doing with technology to figure this out.
Yeah.
Their UX and their UI was not intuitive for the audience they're trying to reach.
Yes.
I'm not going to go on a soapbox about form over function right now. It's not the time or the place. But Princess, reach out to me. I can help you guys. I can help you very much. So the app was, in some ways, really good. In some ways, definitely needed some work.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to talk about one more thing, and then we're going to get into our pros and cons. Then we're going to talk about would we cruise again. Then we're going to talk about all that. The good stuff you guys want to know. Okay? The last thing we're going to talk about is the embarkation and disembarkation. Getting on the ship and getting off the ship. It's the best ever.
It was so easy. It was so easy. And, like, honestly, like, I was sort of just like...
Wait, that was it?
Did we miss a step?
Yeah.
Did we do this right? Like, it was so easy. Especially the getting off. Like, it was a 5-minute process.
I could not believe.
So
there was a
easy.
point where I was like, wait, now we're getting our luggage. I was like, wait, that's it? Like, oh, we're done.
But that was all?
I was shocked.
Yeah.
The whole
it was
process.
so easy.
The way they told us, like, we're getting off in groups. Here's your group. Your group meets in this place at this time. And it was, I was just blown away.
Yes. And even with, like, the ports, like, getting on and off the ship at the ports.
Easy.
Super easy. It was just like, go here, do this, and there you are. Like, it was great.
You ready to get into some of our pros and cons?
Yeah.
Here's the way this works. Now, we've touched on some of the stuff in this video already. During our cruise, in the notes of my phone, we decided let's keep a pros and cons list. Every time we see something we love, toss in the pros.
Yep.
Something that we don't love as much, toss in the cons.
Yep.
So I'm just going to walk us through these. Again, some of them we've already touched on.
Yeah.
The Piazza lobby. Beautiful.
Stunning.
But here's the thing. More than stunning. This is one of the things that I loved. It felt like the heartbeat of the ship.
Yeah.
Because there was always a ton of tables, a ton of people. There was music. It felt like the place that you wanted to gather. It was like the town square hub.
Yeah.
And it's like, even on the last night, I talked about this in the last video, it was like 11 p.m. and it was hopping.
Yeah.
There's people dancing. There's activities. It was more than just a pass-through place. It was a destination.
Yeah.
I loved
And
that.
a stunning one.
A stunning one. Now I'm going to jump down to some cons, because I don't want to end on cons. Let's do the cons first, okay? Outlets. Come on, Princess.
Outlets in the room. There were 2 at the desk.
What?
No, that's all. That's it. There was one in the bathroom, but it was for the hair dryer.
There you go.
And that was it.
So, outlets, an issue. We would bring a multi-USB charger, which we sometimes do on Disney anyway. I don't know why I didn't think about it. I just thought, certainly they'll have outlets. They don't.
They really didn't.
And here's the thing. We travel with a ton of electronics. So we're charging, like, every night we were charging 2 iPhones. We were trying to charge the batteries for our vlog cameras, batteries for our photography cameras, Apple Watch. Like, there was just a lot of things that we were trying to charge.
My Kindle, there was, and we do travel probably with more electronics than the demographic of Princess. However, 2 outlets was a big con.
So app message notifications, we already touched on that. The quality of the outdoor movie screen, that was just a bummer.
Yeah, it's probably expensive to fix, but it's also just like, but it looked really bad. Like, there were some that were just, like, flickering, and there were some that were just, like, super fuzzy, and then there were some that were just black, and it was just, like...
Here's the weird thing, is that so much of the ship was so classy and so nice that how bad that screen was, the niceness of the ship compared to how crappy that screen was amplified how bad the screen was.
I think so,
It just made it stand out that it's like, oh, this is bad, and nothing else was bad.
Yeah.
The meal confusion, we touched about that. That first night.
Yeah, the meals, like, I mean, just the restaurants. It was a confusing thing.
It wouldn't be confusing next time because now we know.
Yeah.
But we didn't.
Yeah.
And then, this last one, I'm so bummed. So there was it's called like the Good Spirits Cocktail Show. And again, maybe I just missed it because I thought from looking at like different photos and YouTube videos
and stuff online, and like the documentary and stuff that we watched,
that they do like you guys remember the movie Cocktail with Tom Cruise, right? Flipping bottles, doing bar shows. I thought that they had something like that on board. And so we went to the Good Spirits Cocktail Show, and it was just horrible.
It was super boring, and we ended up leaving early. And it was just like, it was literally just this guy, like, talking about this drink, and then there would be a video on the screen.
So here's
which was weird.
It was like
and then he would make the drink.
It was like a Food Network show that was talking about, and now we're going to talk about mezcal. You know what I mean? And then it would show like a 10-minute clip from this TV show, and then it would go to the bartender, and he would
make the drink, and then he would just set it to the side, and then he would talk about the next one. And I was like,
it was very strange.
But who's gonna drink that? Like, what happens?
It was very strange.
So weird.
So I knew that it wasn't going to be a tasting. I knew that. I thought it was going to be again, I used to be a bartender, and so I'm like, this is going to be great. Let's flip some bottles. Let's do some like Bar Stars kind of stuff. None of that happened. I was disappointed. And maybe they offered another show that we just missed. We're Princess Noobs. We have no clue what was going on.
That's true.
So more pros. The late night activities, I loved them.
I know you did. And I actually really appreciated that they had them, because I feel like when there's not anything for you to do, you're in the room bothering me and I'm trying to sleep.
100%. Well, this is the thing though.
Because you're like, want to talk? What was your favorite thing
But
about today?
when you agree to go on vacation together, that's what you sign up for.
No, I know.
You should be like, Adam, why don't you go on a cruise? Because if there's nothing going on after 10
what
p.m.
we're going to do is you and Justin are going to go on a cruise, and me and Lacey are going to go on a cruise, and because we cruise very differently.
I just poked myself in the eye because I'm not wearing my real glasses. Justin, send me a Marco Polo. You heard it from Sherri. We can go on a guy cruise, a bro cruise.
Lacey, I got you, girl.
All right. Other things we loved, the service, talked about that. The beauty of the ship, talked about that. The adult-only area.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
Whoa.
Okay, so there was this whole area that was stunning, and we went the first day and like toured it, and it was so pretty, and we were like, oh, we are 100% just going to spend all our time here. And then we never went back.
Never went back. Now.
Which we realized in the last day, and we were like, we never went back there.
Yeah. But it was beautiful.
It really was, and I feel like it would have been super relaxing. However, it was cold.
This was kind of a surprise to us.
We were in Alaska, and when that ship's really moving, it's windy.
Yeah,
and
even
it's cold.
Here's the thing, even on nice days, it's like, oh, the ship has stopped. It's 70, 75 degrees. This is beautiful. The ship starts moving. It is no longer 75 degrees.
No, it was cold.
And so there was nobody really out on the pool deck in any of the pool areas.
Right.
Which does mean that a lot of the inside spaces are busier because remember, everybody's inside.
Right.
All those hundreds of people that would normally be in loungers in the Caribbean are inside in Alaska.
Right. I mean, I think the first day we sat outside for a little bit, for a while. But I don't think the ship was actually really moving then. I think that was like right shortly after we got on the ship.
Yeah.
And we were still just sort of exploring, and we were like, let's just sit and have a drink. And I don't think that we were really moving, or we weren't moving fast if we were. And so, like, the few other times that we were outside, it was just like, I don't want to sit out here. It's cold. This isn't comfortable.
So next, the dinner buffet. We talked about that.
Yes, fantastic.
Loved that. Disembarkation, talked about that. The sitting areas around the ship.
There were so many. And in the library, which loved that they had a library, they had a whole, like half the library was games that you could just take with you and take around the ship.
And we saw people around the ship.
Did.
So
all over the place.
I had this thought many, many times on the cruise that I wish we had done our viewer cruise on Princess, because on Disney it was so hard to find places for groups to gather.
Yeah.
It's like, where do we go? Because Disney's designed for like a family of like 3 to 6, right? It's like, that's what their spaces are. Like those kind of spaces. Whereas with Princess, there were multiple places that groups of 12, 15, 20 could have gathered.
Yep.
I loved that.
Easily. And there were groups like that, and they were playing games, and they were like chatting and drinking, and it was like
so
everywhere around the ship, and it was great.
So next, the food and drinks via the app, we already talked about that. I want to talk to the adult entertainment staff. I thought they were so good.
I loved them. I absolutely loved that Natalie,
cruise director,
and Holly, the assistant cruise director, were everywhere. They were involved. They were part of the shows. They were not just hosting. Sometimes they were actually like, Natalie was actually part of one of the shows. Like I loved seeing them all over the ship, and they were interacting with people every time you saw them. And I just feel like all the other cruise directors that I've seen have introduced the Broadway shows, and then that's it. Like, that's all I ever see of them.
Every now and then you'll see them around the ship, but I felt like we saw Natalie she is the best cruise director we've ever had.
Natalie and Holly. We saw Holly everywhere.
Holly was amazing. So the whole staff was really, really great. I loved the adult entertainment staff that they had.
Yep.
Kudos, Princess. You guys killed it.
Absolutely.
And then the last thing on my pros and cons list for a pro, I want to end it with this because this was such a big one. Alaska. Let me explain. Obviously, we cruised to Alaska. I'm going to try to sum this up as best as I can. So since our cruise, I've reached out to 2 friends, both of which have cruised Alaska this season on other cruise lines. One that cruised Norwegian and one that cruised Disney. Because I wanted to know if our experience on Disney was similar to what with Princess was similar to theirs on those cruise lines.
Right.
And I've come to the conclusion it was not. And here's the best way that I can describe this. As an Alaskan, I wasn't sure what to expect. I've heard for years, and it's one of the reasons that we wanted to cruise Princess, that Princess does Alaska better than any other cruise line. And I was so impressed by so much Alaska on board, and I'll talk about that in a minute, that I wanted to know, like, is this what everybody does?
Right.
And so the way that I can describe it after talking to our friends from other cruise lines is that Disney, Norwegian, these other lines, it is a Disney cruise in Alaska. It's an
NCL cruise in Alaska.
With Princess, it is an Alaska cruise.
Yes.
It really felt like Princess did an amazing job in so many ways bringing Alaska on the ship.
Yes.
One of our friends, she said it really well. She said that on her cruise, you only knew you were on an Alaska cruise when you looked outside. Like, you knew you were cruising Alaska when you looked out the window or you looked off your balcony. We knew we were cruising Alaska almost everywhere.
Yeah, so the decorations in the atrium, the uniforms that the staff wore, they were in jeans and
Buffalo plaid.
Like, it was just very Alaskan.
They did beer tastings with Alaskan Brewing Company. They created 30 new menu items that used Alaskan seafood and Alaskan products.
Yeah.
They brought on the naturalists or like the park rangers in Glacier Bay, but I think every cruise line has to do that. I don't think that's unique to Princess.
Right.
But they also brought on a captain from the Deadliest Catch. They brought on Libby Riddles. I mean, Libby Riddles, just so you know, is an Alaska icon.
Right, she's a celebrity here.
The first woman
Everybody
to ever
knows who she is.
win the Iditarod.
Right.
They just did such a good job of bringing Alaska on the ship.
Yes.
That was my favorite part of the cruise.
Yes, because it felt, we were very clearly on an Alaskan cruise. And not just because we looked outside. Like, everywhere we looked, it was obviously, we were on an Alaskan cruise.
I 100% understand why people say Princess does Alaska the best. Again, we have never cruised another cruise line to know that. but I've had a number of conversations now with other friends who have cruised this year.
Right.
And they've both completely said that, no, that's exactly it. That, like, their cruises were a Disney cruise in Alaska, an NCL cruise in Alaska. Whereas Princess, you were on an Alaska cruise.
Yes. And we talked about this as we were kind of discussing what to talk about in this video. The ports that we went to and the time in the ports.
The itinerary.
The itinerary was fantastic. I never felt like, I think Ketchikan was our shortest day, and even then I feel like we were there long enough to, like, hang out with our friends and, like, do the things in Ketchikan we wanted to do. I think we were in Juneau for like 13 hours or something. Like, it was a long day, and we had plenty of time to, like, do all of the things we wanted to do in Juneau and, like, hang out on the ship and do a bunch of stuff. Like, I really felt like it was a ship day and a port day in one because we were there for so long, and it was great.
That was one of the things that was amazing. I think we had like 10, 11, 12 hours in Skagway as well. That we had such a good itinerary, but more than a good itinerary, it gave us a long time in ports.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about this because we're going to do, like, in Alaska, like, things we've learned or things we do differently or look for in our next Alaska cruise.
Yeah.
We'll do that in a future video, but that is number one for me.
Absolutely.
100%.
The time in ports.
So it was a different experience than what we're used to. There's a couple jewelry stores on board that felt a little bit, I don't want to say pushy, but it's like...
Kind of.
It's like you're walking by, it's like, oh, come on in, we have a jewelry sale going on. It's like,
it felt a little...
used car salesman.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Didn't love that kind of stuff. Did love the casino. We loved the casino actually more than we expected.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was nice because there were a lot of times where it was like, we have 20 minutes until our next thing. Casino.
Hit those little buttons. All right, let's go.
Fireworks. And so there was just so much that we liked. So, Sherri, would you cruise Princess again?
Absolutely. I will say this made me want to cruise Alaska again, probably on Princess, based off of the conversations we've had with our other friends. But also I want to cruise Princess elsewhere as well. I'm curious to know how different the Princess Alaskan cruises are from, like, regular, like, Caribbean cruises.
Yep.
Or Mexican Riviera or something.
Yeah, so curious. I'm with you. I would 100% cruise Princess again. I'm sure we will. I would book right now, even this season still, the exact cruise we just did and do that over again.
Yes. I mean, I don't have time, but, like...
We're like work time off. Oh, no, we can't.
I don't have any work time off, but... if I did, absolutely. Like, I would go again this summer.
It was very relaxing.
Yeah.
It was probably the most relaxing cruise we've ever taken. Do you think?
I think so, and I think part of that was two of the at-sea days were the scenic cruising, and so we were in these stunning places with these glaciers and these seals and otters and brown bears and whatever, and so it was just like sitting out on our balcony like for hours and just hanging out and talking and drinking and looking. Like, that's, I mean, there's really not a whole lot of point in doing that on other cruises, I think.
I also loved that there were, every day, there were things that we wanted to do. It's like, you know what, I wanted to go to the ice carving, I wanted to go to the fruit and vegetable carving, but you were just like, I have no interest in going to those things. And so there were...
I'm going to sit here and I'm going to draw.
Yeah, and so there were things that, like, you could do. They had a lot more activities than I expected them to have.
Yeah.
So I don't know. At this point, I kind of feel like we're just rambling a little bit. I will say, overall, it was spectacular.
Yes. I'm going to talk about the medallions really quick.
Okay.
One of my favorite things is that it would unlock the door as you walked up to your room.
Oh, that's nice.
You didn't have to, like, get the card out. You didn't have to, like, do the weird thing. It was just, like, it just knew you were coming and it unlocked for you.
Yep.
Which was so nice. One of the drawbacks, I think, is that our names were on our door.
Yeah, that would be an issue for sure on a cruise, especially if you're trying to, like, remain anonymous, if you're trying to, like, not let people know where you are. Right. The fact that your name is on the screen outside your door. Now, there may be a way to remove that. I was going to
say, we might be able to just see if we would be able to remove our names.
Yep.
But, I mean, that was really the only drawback.
Of the Medallion.
of the Medallion, and I really loved just being able to walk up and like open the door.
Yep, there were things that we missed, and we'll go into more of these in the Disney video. You know, a lot of the details, the chocolates on the bed at night, missed the towel animals, which I have heard Princess is starting to bring back. Oh. Just missed a lot of like little details. But overall, especially for the price, this is the thing that I keep going back to. I'm going to say this. Disney, in my opinion, is better in most ways. Mm-hmm. Disney Cruise Line is better than Princess in most ways.
I just don't know if it's 3 times better.
That's what I was going to say. This cruise was 2 to 3 times less expensive than the exact same Disney cruise.
Exact same cruise.
There is no way it's, I can say there's no way it's that much better.
Right.
If I had to cruise Alaska 10 times, I don't think I'd cruise Disney one of those. The cost.
The cost.
How was the Princess Cruise so affordable?
I mean, really, like that was the thing we kind of kept going back to. Like, is this 3 to 4 times worse than what we would get on Disney?
No.
Absolutely not. It wasn't.
Absolutely. Like, and we kept saying, even with the Zach was like, can you believe how cheap this is?
Right.
Think of how often you could cruise if you did this line.
A lot more often.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So, and
wow.
the thing is, like, I know that it's probably super fun seeing like Captain Mickey and Captain Minnie in their Alaska gear.
Yep.
But again, is that 3 times more fun?
I'd rather have $2,500. So
I mean, honestly, I loved Princess. We still love Disney. Again, we still have 2 more booked already. I'm sure we're gonna book more.
Yep.
I still love cruising Disney, but the how nice Princess was compared to the cost, like, I would absolutely cruise Princess again.
And
more often.
And more often, without a doubt.
Because we can go on more cruises. We can go on 3 more cruises.
It's crazy.
For the price of 1.
Yeah, this definitely opened our eyes to wanting to try not just more Princess cruises, but other cruise lines.
Other cruise lines, yeah.
Because there were things on this that we were like, oh my gosh, I love this so much more. Mm-hmm. And it was so cool. In some ways, it felt like our first cruise all over again. All of the fun and the excitement and that kind of like anticipation you have, that was all back.
Yeah, and like finding new things, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
You guys, going into it, did this cruise meet your expectations? Was it lower or did it exceed them?
It exceeded. I feel like we talked about this. We went in with high hopes and low expectations.
Mm-hmm. Perfect way to put it.
And so we went in with low expectations, but it far exceeded any of our expectations. And honestly, it exceeded even my high hopes. Like,
yeah,
I really was hoping that it would be great, and it was fantastic.
Yes. I don't have anything to add, because that's exactly, even my highest hopes and my highest expectations, this was better than. Yeah. There were so many times on this cruise that I kept saying to myself, I can't believe Princess is this good.
Yeah.
There were things
we haven't cruised it before.
There were things that I would love to do differently. There are things that weren't great. There are things that weren't perfect. Mm-hmm. But again, for the cost we paid to have had that kind of an experience,
yeah,
that was crazy to me.
Yes.
That was genuinely crazy. So there you go, friends. I mean, we just wanted to kind of debrief. This was just sort of a mind dump. I know this was a ridiculously long video. But we had a lot of stuff to cover. It was 7 nights, and 100% we will cruise Princess again.
Yeah.
And Disney.
Yeah.
And Celebrity. And Royal. And NCL. Mm-hmm. Probably not Carnival.
Probably not Carnival.
I'm just kidding. I want to do a Carnival cruise.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, now we're getting off. Some of you guys, you can click away if you want. We're just going to have a discussion. Here's why. Is that I think one of the things that I want to see is I really believe that there's probably something great about every single cruise line. There are things that Disney is... I think every person, if you're a cruiser, I think you need to cruise Disney Cruise Line. Because Disney's attention to detail is second to none. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's expensive. You may not ever do another one again in your life, but do it once.
Yeah.
It's amazing. There are things on Princess that I love, and I think every cruiser should experience. And I do believe that on every cruise line, there is something that you would enjoy. You know what I mean? There is some like thing that you would find to be like, you know what? It might not be better than any other cruise line, any other thing, but I really loved this about it. I just want to try them all.
Okay.
At this point, I'm so on a post-cruise high, I'd take like a canoe and a 6-pack of White Claws in a lake.
Okay.
And call it good.
Okay.
Honestly, that kind of sounds like a nice evening.
I mean, we got a lake right
There's
out,
a lake
right
right
out
there.
here. We can...
I'm going to the liquor store. All right, friends.
All right.
We love you guys so much. If you have any questions that we haven't addressed in this way too long video, let us know in the comments below,
Yep.
and we will get to those. Just upcoming trips that we have, more travel vlogs coming up. We've got our big Fiji trip here in less than 3 months.
Yes, we do.
That sounds fake. We have a Disney cruise in December that we are not announcing the date of yet because it's kind of a special situation.
Yep.
And then we have our viewer cruise coming up next March. So we have a ton of travel, a ton of cruise, and here's the reality. My guess is that we're going to book our next Princess cruise soon.
Oh, probably.
Let's just be honest. It's probably going to happen. Friends, we love you guys so very much, and we'll see you on the next LeggLife video.